Hey guys, how's it going today? It's just Gilded today. Winter is not available. Sorry for him not being here. Our schedules have just been a little wonky these past couple of weeks just for trying to get together for recording videos. But today, I'm going to be recording my review of Doom Eternal. Now, it's definitely a year late, but I only had the opportunity recently to play through Doom 2016. I beat Doom Eternal, the base campaign recently. I beat Tag 1, and I'm almost done Tag 2 right now. So I would just like to get this out there. First off, let me just start saying Doom Eternal is easily a 9.5 out of 10. Now, coming from Doom 2016, I felt that I had a bit of an easy time near the end of the game. I had the upgrades to have unlimited ammo when I had above 75 armor, so that allowed me just to be able to walk through certain encounters, using the Gauss cannon or the turret. And then the last couple of bosses were just a cakewalk easily. I only played it on Hurt Me Plenty, but I still found the game incredibly easy in the late game. Not too much of a challenge. Fast forward to a few days after I beat Doom 2016, I started Doom Eternal. Right away, I saw that, the first couple levels were a little, I wouldn't say difficult, but it took some getting used to. Just there was a lot of push for you to begin to start resource managing, having a lot of armor, weapon ammo all the time, and so it took me a while to actually get used to the flame belch and using grenades and such. But I feel like the sandbox really opened up once I got my dodge or like my dash and then my second jump, which you already start off with at the start of the game, which was awesome. There's no unlocking that. But I think it's really around cultist base where the game starts to really shine. Those early few levels, and I can only imagine how hard they are on Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare. They really test your patience and your skill. So, with that out of the way, let's just dive right into the pros that I have in this game. First and foremost is the gunplay. Now, the weapons each serve functionally different roles in the sandbox, whether it be the shotgun with the sticky grenades or full auto, the precision bolt heavy machine gun, the tracking rockets, or actually even the remote detonation, which they both do serve different purposes. Remote det, you can falter enemies to have them stagger for a little bit longer. If you throw a grenade, it's a different kind of falter, and that can really just easily pick apart a Mancubus. But I know that later in the game, if you let them just creep up on you, they can really smack you around. And what I found in this game is it's easily able to knock you down from max health down to pretty low, if not kill you if you're not paying attention. When I played this game, the base campaign through first, I played through on Hurt Me Plenty, and I didn't really have any trouble with it. And that includes the Slayer Gates, which I'll get into later on in the pros section. Uh, Moving forward, movement. Now, I really love movement. I come from a background of Destiny, and movement in that game is absolutely silly. There's combat abilities, there's armor pieces, there's exotics that just really enhance your movement. And with Doom, you're encouraged, and I mean really encouraged, to zip around the map to avoid enemies. There's no stopping to catch your breath, essentially running and sprinting and like dash and dashing. That's you catching your breath. I can even recall recently in Tag 2 for I think it was that the World Spear, um, I guess the second escalation encounter. I think there's a period of 5 minutes where I'm just zipping around the map for about 5 or 7 minutes trying to avoid a couple of tyrants and doom hunters, just trying to figure out what the hell I'm gonna do. Movement, yeah. So you're encouraged to use things like your dash, your double jump, your grenades, your ballista to move around, the super shotgun meat hook, which I think in hindsight, if I go through this again, which I definitely will, my first upgrade for the super shotgun will be trying to max that out as soon as possible because that meat hook, if you zip in, you get like easily 30 or 40 armor, and that's really handy for getting around tight situations trying to just recoup. The weapon mods, like I was saying before, another big pro. The microwave on the plasma rifle, which seems like a meme beam at the first, but really it's good for faltering or staggering enemies. The heat blast also is good for clearing out just like trash mobs or faltering big enemies, destroying the doom hunters like base, depleting the armor on Mancubus. It's really easy just to pick enemies apart if you have it charged. Uh, what I do wish though is that there was some more weapon mods, say for the super shotgun. Most of the weapons in the game have two mods, whereas the super shotgun, sorry, has only one. Now that's one minor gripe they do have with the game, and I think it would have been cool to see like weapon mods on the BFG and the Unmaker, which also the Unmaker is bomb. You know, I'm going to touch on this in a little bit, but that, it's really fun to use. It seems bad at first when you compare it to the BFG since they use the same ammo, but it's really good in certain situations. Now, all those three elements there blend together to make combat just feel chef's kiss, buttery smooth. It's fucking awesome. It feels really rewarding to get through an encounter and just still have your health and to make it alive. I wouldn't say unscathed unless you're one of those pros, but it just feels really good to master an encounter and get through and kill all the enemies and make your way to the next part of the level, which will slap you around again. That being said, the game definitely rewards a skilled hand, and there's a lot of different difficulty modifiers to change it up if you find the game to be somewhat easy. I played through the vanilla game on Hurt Me Plenty, and I discovered like halfway through that, I could definitely up the difficulty. But I wanted to get through it as fast as possible to be able to play the DLCs through. And difficulty, I know it's going to be there. Like, I played Tag 1 on Ultra Violence, and that felt really tough at times. I didn't really have much trouble with the story for the most part, except for the whole Slayer Gate, which, Jesus Christ, that was tough. And the final boss against the Seraphim. But I'm playing through Tag 2 on Nightmare right now, and for the most part, I'm having a good time with it. The second encounters, for the escalation encounters, they're tough as hell, but they are fun to just get through. It feels like a sigh of relief once you finish that encounter. But difficulty is definitely in the game, and it feels like if you can master it, you can then tweak your kick and become better as a player once you start understanding the intricacies of the combat and the subtleties. And if you get too intense, you can even understand where the enemies will spawn and be able to exploit, say, a tyrant coming in. You can stagger him, freeze him with the frost grenade. There's just a lot of ways to work around the arenas, and a lot of it to your favor and credit. Now, the big thing that I found with the base game is the presence of the Slayer Gates. Now, these are optional side encounters that you can trigger. You have to find the Slayer Gate key, which you have to explore and find the key, and then use this on the door that leads into the room with the Slayer Gate. I forget what it's called, but the encounter where you crush the organ and it teleports you. Now, they're optional encounters. They're quite a bit more difficult than the regular part of the story or the level, and they're meant to test you. And when you beat each of them, they reward you with a key component to go back to the Fortress of Doom, which, also, the Fortress of Doom, how badass is that? Also, where the hell did Doom Guy get the Fortress of Doom? It must have been in that time gap between 2016 and Doom Eternal, and I hope we get to hear about that and see that either in a comic book or a story or something. But the Slayer Gates, there's 6 of them in the base campaign, and when you beat each of them, you unlock a key. When you get all 6 keys, you can use those to open up I'll call it a chest, but it's basically released this weapon, which is Unmaker technology, or Maker technology. It's called the Unmaker, and it uses the same ammo as the BFG. It fires in rounds of 3, spreads, like a shotgun, but it's like auto. So it uses the same ammo as the BFG, which at first feels like, why the hell would I use that over the BFG? But if you're trying to really control the ammo you use, you want to use the Unmaker. It's good for taking down tyrants. It's good for taking down really anything and controlling your ammo. So, all that being said, the game really rewards you for searching throughout the entire level, whether it be finding extra lives, because this game really knows that you're going to need them. No kidding. They're tough. But finding the extra lives, finding the toys, finding the cheats to use for later on in the game. If you want to go back because you missed it unlockable, you can throw a cheat on and just blast through the level with unlimited ammo or unlimited health. But the one gripe that I've seen across some reviews online, aside from the Marauder, which I can touch on that in a second, it's the resource management. It's having to use Flame Belch and the Chainsaw, and your Glory Kills and the Blood Punch continuously to get back your health, your armor, and your ammo. And I can understand that at first, but you do get used to actually using those and introduce them into the flow of combat, and it feels very rewarding to actually have, your combat movements include like Flame Belch, Freeze Grenade, or Frag Grenade, then different weapons to get armor or back, like your Meat Hook Shotgun, using a burst of rockets. It really starts to work its way in, and at the first you might have to actually avidly think about using it, because for the longest time I didn't really Flame Belch. I didn't really use my grenades. I was thinking I would just main using the Frost Grenade because of just how utility it is. The utility, you could just freeze enemies in place, catch your breath, Flame Belch an enemy, which would require some thinking. So That's one thing. I think it's a good thing, and I much prefer this system over Doom 2016's. I found Doom 2016, like I said before, there was a point in the game where I found where I could just have infinite ammo and have no worries about encounters in the game, and that included bosses, which Winter is playing through the game, and I'll make a jab. There's a couple of bosses that he was having trouble with, and I was able to just completely hold down, the mouse button, right click, or I guess left click, to have unlimited ammo for my machine gun, and just breeze through bosses. And he didn't unlock that perk, so he had quite a bit more trouble. Also, LOL Winter. I am glad that he finished the game. One last pro for the game is just the sheer variety of the levels in the game. Now, when I think back to 2016's Doom, a lot of it was in hell, a lot of reds, a lot of it was in industrial facilities on Mars, a lot of grays, reds, blacks, industrial colors, and it felt very samey, almost like bland after a while. Whereas each level in Doom Eternal feels drastically different than the other one, especially for the DLCs. You play on Earth, you play on Sentinel Prime, you play in the planet of the Makers, you play on Hell and Phobos, a couple of space stations. There's so much variety. Now, let's get into the cons, because there's a couple, but they're not very big. The one big one that I've seen is that there's no arena style multiplayer in the game like there was in 2016. It was completely stripped, and instead they're proposing to have invasion mode, which still isn't in the game yet. And that invasion mode would function kind of like Dark Souls or Bloodborne, which you can invade another player's world as an enemy and you can kill them, which sounds awesome. It sounds fucking great. I love that. Just give me it, please. The other gripe I have with the game is the story. Now, I know you don't play a Doom game, but the story, and they did definitely step it up with a lot of like lore cards, character information sheets. Like the lore in the game is there, and if you are really interested in it, which I actually am kind of interested into it, it's really fun to read. It's actually intense, and it's a fun story. And there's actually a lot of character behind the Doom guy. You learn why he's so quiet. It's cool. I never thought I'd actually sympathize with the Doom guy, but here I am. The last thing that I'll say is that I haven't gotten to this point in the game yet, but the master levels in the game. There is 3 right now, but there was a pre-order bonus last year when the game originally launched where you get access to one of them. And I can't remember if it's Exaltia or Cultist Base, but I know there's a level that's a master level that you can't get unless you pre-order the game, which I think that's kind of shitty. Like, when I get to that point in the game, there's Super Gore Nest, and then there's one of the other ones, but I want to be able to play all 3 just for variety. I mean, aside from that, I fucking love Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal is one of my favorite games. I haven't even thought twice about going back to playing Destiny 2. That's beside the point, but it's really got me by the throat. And it's just telling me to rip and tear, rip and tear, rip and tear. And if you haven't played Doom Eternal, I really recommend the game. If you like shooters, if you like fast-paced action and combat in games, so there's even puzzles in this. There's a lot of exploration, finding hidden gems and items and collectibles. Hell, the collectibles you find in the game, you can actually go back into the Fortress of Doom, which I didn't even talk about the Fortress of Doom. It's fucking awesome. You have to see it. You go back to your own little cubby or room, and Doom Guy has a big 3-monitor setup. He's got guitars on the wall, and he's got a wall for his collectibles. It's fucking awesome. You can't make this shit up. Oh my god, how could I forget the Marauder? The Marauder is one thing that everybody hated, except for, once you used to him, he's actually a cake. He's cakewalk. He's easy peasy. You just have to know when to attack him. People say that he slows down the flow of combat. I say he just changes combat. He's a unique chess piece on the board that you have to know how to react to. And I think that's a really good addition to the Doom enemy library. Really love it. Hugo Martin and id Software really knocked this one out of the park. Anywho, guys, hope you guys liked the review. If you guys have any further comments or questions, just post them down below. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.